Alright guys, we are back to dive into some Premier League transfer rumours. The rumour mill is not slowing down as the new Premier League season is just a few weeks away. We are now seeing some serious interest ramping up. Plenty to talk through in today's video. We've got some done deals to go over, and as well as that, loads of juicy transfers to dive into as well. As always, do get your thoughts in the comments down below, but without any further ado, let's dive into this one. And the first major completed deal we have to talk through is Dean Henderson, who completed his loan move to Nottingham Forest. I think by all accounts this is a great move for Forest. They were forced to act quite quickly with how the Samba news broke. They needed cover in this position, and I think Dean Henderson's an excellent acquisition for the season. I really do. If we cast our minds back to the 19/20 season when Dean Henderson last consistently played Premier League football while he was out on loan at Sheffield United, he was pound for pound one of the best goalkeepers in the league that season. Had a save percentage of 75.2%, which ranked him as the third best Premier League goalkeeper that season. 13 clean sheets for a Sheffield United side who absolutely took the league by storm, and Steve Cooper will be looking to get a similar sort of return out of the goalkeeper this season. So by all accounts, I think Forest have done a really good job here to get Dean Henderson in for the season. He needed to be playing football. I think this one suits both parties. We also saw Nottingham Forest completing a deal for 22-year-old French defender Julien Biancone, who had a really excellent season actually in Ligue 1 last time. You'd imagine that Steve Cooper sees him as part of that new look back three, but he is fairly versatile, played across several positions last season, including as a wing back on both the left and right hand side at times last season. But a move for around about £5 million, this one looks to be a decent investment for Forest. And perhaps the most exciting deal that Forest have managed to get over the line is for Taiwo Awoniyi, coming over from Union Berlin in the Bundesliga. He's coming off the back of his most prolific season to date, having scored 15 goals in the Bundesliga last season. Looks to be a good striker for those counter-attacking opportunities, and that's how we expect Nottingham Forest to be lining up next season. Him next to Brennan Johnson, who obviously recently signed that new contract extension with Nottingham Forest, which is absolutely brilliant news for that team long term. But in terms of Awoniyi, looks to be quite a promising player actually. We do have that bit of a conundrum whereby players from the Bundesliga do tend to take a little bit of an adaptation period. Generally that's been the case with the vast majority of players we've seen coming over from Germany, but this looked to be the obvious replacement for Keenan Davis, who was obviously central to that Forest side in the second half of last season in the Championship. We saw James Tarkowski end up at Everton as we expected him to go ahead and do so. It did seem as if there were a couple of offers on the table for Tarkowski. Obviously there was long-standing interest from West Ham previously. At one point I think Aston Villa was spoken about, but they in the end went after different targets. I think Tarkowski improves Everton's defence, there's no question about that, and this was an obvious weakness in their squad last season. Bournemouth completed the deal for Joe Rothwell on a free transfer upon his contract expiring with Blackburn Rovers. This one had been long rumoured all the way back to the January transfer window. Apart from this Rothwell deal, it seems to have been quite quiet really on the transfer front with Bournemouth, not just in terms of done deals but actually being linked to players. A lot of those links seem to have gone quiet recently, so be interested to know from you Bournemouth fans if you guys have heard any other rumblings that I've missed out on over the last few days. But Rothwell, I'm excited to see what he can do in the Premier League. Thought he was probably one of the more underrated midfielders in the Championship at Blackburn last season. Simon Adingra completed his move over to Brighton. Looks like quite an exciting prospect at 20 years old. He will be spending this next upcoming season out on loan in Belgium to go ahead and gain a little bit more experience before properly joining up with the Brighton squad. And we saw Fulham complete a deal for Portuguese midfielder João Felina in a deal worth up and around €22 million. This one, a really exciting addition for Fulham, I have to say, who managed to fend off interest from Wolves, who Felina seemed to be quite a long-term target for. I think this is an excellent capture to Fulham, and this is a statement of intent of how they are to go in this transfer window. Then I'd actually be quite excited for their chances of survival in the Premier League next season. Something that could maybe be labelled at the past few Fulham squads is in the Premier League, and why they've gone down is that little bit of a lack of physicality, particularly in the middle. Well, Felina absolutely adds that in an absolute abundance. Really excited to see how he gets on. I think he instantly improves that Fulham midfield and takes them up a notch next season. But those are some of the recently completed transfers we've seen going through in the Premier League. Any others, let me know about them in the comments down below. Now, without any further ado, let's hop into some transfer rumours. So we covered this one on the Championship transfer rumour roundup yesterday, so if you want to see me talk about this one in a little bit more detail, then do head back to that video. But Flynn Down's currently been linked with a move to Crystal Palace. Reportedly so Swansea have set their asking price at £12 million. So I'd be interested to know from Palace fans, how high would you go on a bid for Downs, who undoubtedly has a massive ceiling in terms of his potential, and we certainly saw that at times in the Championship last season for Swansea. Because it would be interesting if Palace were keen to drop so much money on another midfielder when they have the imminent arrival of KETELAERE, who seems to be coming in. Reportedly so, the only thing holding this deal up in terms of it actually being announced and over the line is a work permit for the midfielder at this point in time. But this looks to be an excellent addition for Crystal Palace. Rumours of around about a 20 million or so price tag fee for him, but really good combative midfielder who's had some good years with Lens in Ligue 1, averages 2.2 tackles per 90, 2 interceptions, got a bit of creativity about him as well with 1.2 key passes per 90. I think he'd be a nice addition into that side, and only 22 years old as well, so we'll continue to add to the youthful core that Vieira's keen to build up. Leeds United have a deal in place for Leipzig midfielder Tyler Adams, who looks to be coming in to plug that gap which will be left by the departing Calvin Phillips. Obviously, it is pretty much an impossible act to follow. You know, how could you go ahead and replicate what Calvin Phillips has given to Leeds? But Tyler Adams is coming in, obviously has that rapport already with manager Jesse Marsh from them previously working together. 23 years old, reportedly so. This deal worth up and around about 20 million. Now, from what I've seen of Adams, seems to be a little bit more limited in his skill set, dare I say it, than Calvin Phillips. I don't think that Leeds were ever going to get as a midfielder to come in and replace Calvin Phillips from the off, who was as complete as he was. But I think what we're generally going to see from Leeds is more of a transition into how Marsh wants to play going into next season, as the, I suppose, Bielsa era has now completely come to an end. Aston Villa haven't been missing about in this transfer window so far, and they're now being linked with a move for Porto's Otavio, which would be a really interesting addition into this Steven Gerrard side as he continues to build them up, adding even further creativity to this Villa side for next season. Coming off the back of a really successful season with Porto, 3 goals, 11 assists, was one of the most creative players in the Portuguese league last season, as he averaged 2.2 key passes per 90. Also fairly versatile as well. He played the majority of his football off the right hand side, but is fairly comfortable playing in those central positions as well. And as we saw Aston Villa really in the second half of the season under Steven Gerrard, playing with quite a narrow attacking structure with that width then coming from the fullbacks, someone like Otavio could be quite a seamless fit into that system, albeit he would cost quite a bit. On the previous episode of the Championship transfer rumour roundup, we spoke about Nottingham Forest interest in Huddersfield's Harry Toffolo. I think that would be a brilliant move for Nottingham Forest, one of the best fullbacks in the Championship last season, and would be a seamless fit into that left wing back role in a Steve Cooper side. Well, it seems like Forest could be after the double raid of Huddersfield, the side they beat in the playoff final, as they're also targeting a move for Lewis O'Brien. Now, Lewis O'Brien has had plenty of Premier League interest, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of clubs willing to take him on. I think he'd add great depth into this Nottingham Forest midfield. I really do. I think he was one of the most complete midfielders in the Championship last season, the season before even, when Huddersfield were struggling. Lewis O'Brien's qualities still shone through in an absolute abundance. I think he probably is one of those players in the Championship who is ready to take that next step onto the Premier League. And it's now looking more than likely that Morgan Gibbs-White will be available and on the market, and a fee of around about 25 million may be enough to go ahead and prize him away from Wolves. No contract renewal has been agreed between Morgan Gibbs-White and Wolves, and there is the suggestion at this point in time that he is currently exploring his options. Now, he recently spoke about the links he had to Nottingham Forest. I think that would be a brilliant move for Forest to go ahead and look into. Would give them some serious depth in that number 10 role, and would be a natural replacement, I suppose, for Zinkernagel, who's no longer there. But Everton are also throwing their hat in the ring for this one as well. To be fair to Lampard, he does have quite the track record with bringing up creative youngsters like Gibbs-White, and dare I say it, he could be a fit there. Honestly, I am a little bit surprised that Wolves are willing to let go of Gibbs-White, if I'm honest. I know that he's had his sticking points with Wolves at different times in the past with not taking opportunities and things like that, some of the stuff off the pitch as well, but overall he's coming off his hottest season yet. The age he's at, the fact he's a homegrown player from Wolves, you'd think they'd be doing everything they can to cater towards him and get him into that side that was lacking creativity in the final third last season, but it doesn't appear to be the case, and by all accounts, around about that 25 million mark could be enough to get him away from Wolves. And this one could be a really exciting addition for Newcastle, who have recently added to their backline, and they're now targeting Moussa Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen. He has had his links to several big clubs around Europe after coming off the season he's just had. 13 goals, 12 assists in the Bundesliga for Leverkusen. Fairly versatile as well in the positions that he can play. Played most of his football last season out on the right-hand side, and you'd imagine that's where Newcastle would probably see him if he was to come in. But this one would be a serious statement of intent. 22 years old, I think he'd be a brilliant addition. And Leeds United are keen on the move for Charles de Ketelaere. He's currently playing his football out in Belgium for Club Brugge, coming off the back of a terrific season, 14 goals, 9 assists in the league, and is another fairly versatile attacker. No surprise to see Leeds looking to add a little bit more creativity into their side with the likely departure of Rafinha. He is a fairly versatile, played a lot of his games as a centre forward who likes to drop back in, also played on the left, the right and deeper in a number 8 role and in a number 10 role as well. He's only 21 years old and he's highly sought after at this point in time. AC Milan are also interested in his services. Reportedly so, Milan have contacted Club Brugge with an opening bid of around about 20 million euros, but it's said that the Belgian club will be looking for around about double that asking price. So if Leeds were to land this one, you know, with Rafinha going out, this one will be a really exciting deal, I'd say. But guys, there we have it. That will now wrap up for today's video. If you've seen any other transfer rumours flying around over the last few days, do get them in the comments down below. As always though, if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular transfer rumour content. Thanks for watching though guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.